why you should delay gratification. So when it comes to instant gratification and delayed gratification, there are a few different benefits between the two, and the most distinguished one is that when we're going for instant gratification, we usually get enjoyment pretty much instantly. So for example, you could have a burger, you could hit the snooze button in the morning, or you could watch Netflix instead of studying. But when it comes to delayed gratification, it could be something like taking a cold shower, going for a run, and all these challenging things that are a little bit of a harder choice in the moment, but it leads to satisfaction in the long run. And satisfaction is a little bit more lasting than enjoyment, and it's not that satisfaction lasts forever, but it's usually that you have this feeling that you did something good, you invested in your health. As when it comes to enjoyment, you usually feel good when you're having that burger, but afterwards you realize that you're not feeling so good after you consume 1,500 calories, and you're noticing just how hard of a time your body's having to digest all that food. And like you guys know, most of the fast food is very inflammatory. As on the other hand, if you took a cold shower, you're going to promote a stronger immune system, you're going to increase your blood flow, and in the long run you're going to be less likely to have injuries and actually get sick. So when it comes to delaying gratification, I feel it's one of the most powerful habits that we actually can learn these days, because instant gratification is everywhere, and there's so many different industries and companies that are trying to get us hooked on instant gratification, whether that's the fast food industry or all the technology that is getting us addicted to our phones. So when we actually learn to delay gratification, we get way more satisfaction and we actually take control of our lives. And I know that's way easier said than done, but one thing that I've used to my advantage is just learning the different benefits of things. So for example, I'm a person that absolutely hates stretching. It's one of the things I dread the most, and the mixture of pain and doing something that's incredibly boring and doesn't give any immediate reward. Like, I used to hate it, but now I feel like it's okay, simply because I dove into the science and the literature behind it and why we should be doing it. So I used the knowledge to learn why it's so damn important, and then it made it a little bit easier for me to actually do it. And right now I'm an endurance athlete that just completed a marathon, but before I was struggling to run. But what I did was that I knew that endurance training was so good for us. I know how crucial it is for our health, so I learned about it. I learned how important it is for our health, and I started reading books on the subject to know exactly, okay, this is what's going to happen to my cardiovascular system if I start training it, and this is going to happen to my brain if I start doing regular cardiovascular exercise. So all of these things, just learning about it and understanding why it's so important, that's kind of what made it easier for me. And I don't think that's going to work for everyone, but I think the most important part is coming down to why you want to delay your gratification. So if you're a person that wants to become a motivational speaker or influence people, you might have to delay gratification for a while, so you actually achieve some things that inspires people and people can relate to when you actually get out there and speak in front of them. Or you might have to take a speaking course to perfect your speaking and your tonality and body language. That is definitely something I'm working on, and I've been terrible at it, and I wouldn't say that I'm particularly good at it right now, but I'm way better than I was 1 year ago. So the art of delaying gratification. And the final thing that I want to touch on is just that we kind of want to find a balance between these two, because what I learned that when I was in my teens, I did instant gratification all the time. I ate junk food, I slept poorly, I played video games and watched Netflix all day. But what happened was that the enjoyment started fading away. So once I did these things, it didn't bring me enjoyment anymore. I was just addicted to it. So what basically happened was that I was no longer getting joy out of these things, but I was still doing them because I was addicted to them. And that's probably one of the most depressing episodes of my life, because my body was a mess, my mental health was a mess, and I felt like shit, and I was just doing instant gratification all the time, but it barely gave me any gratification. So I was just a slave to these addictions. And once I finally got out of that, that's when I started taking some walks, cutting out soda. So that was when I started delaying gratification a little bit, and that made it to the point where I started gravitating more towards delaying gratification. And at a certain point, I feel like I overdid it a little bit. So I was restricting myself a little bit too much of the instant gratification. So I wouldn't enjoy alcohol. I would rarely have fast food or cookies or anything like that. So I feel like there should be a balance between these two. And that, like I said, that is very tricky in today's society, and where a lot of people struggle, because it's extremely hard for some reason. At least it is for me, and I know it is for a lot of different people. And there's some people that can do it perfectly, and props to them. But yeah, that is definitely my take on it. So I highly encourage delaying gratification with some occasional instant gratification, but don't overdo it and don't get to the point where I was, where you're just a slave to all the misery and you're barely not getting any enjoyment from it. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and take care.